kind of like I don't know, kind of shadowy, scary. What will Spredict Live be like this week? Ooh. All right. Let me see. Make sure we are live and running. Let me check. We're also running on Abstract. Let's just start, refresh, double check, put all those pieces together. How you doing, everybody? All right, looks like we are. Cool. Okay, and let me just check that we are good on good old X. I'm doing great. Had a good week. A lot going on. My kids are fully back to school. Wife is back in her classroom. We are like a family of educators, my friends. So there's a lot going on at all times. Let's see though. I want to make sure that here we go. All right. So I'm going to grab this. I want to grab our link, share it, and I think we're ready to rock and roll. Let's see. Come watch. Boom. All right. So howdy, everybody. Welcome to another week of Spredict Live. My name is Fred Endy. I am one of the founders of Spredict. Spredict is a really innovative predictive gaming platform that we designed as a way to kind of step up the predictive gaming models that were out there, and all of them are great. By the way, there are so many amazing opportunities to engage in predictive gaming uh, throughout the space. Hey, Max, good morning. Well, let's say good afternoon to you. How are you, buddy?
Yeah, hello, how are you, Fred?
I'm, I am doing great. I was saying that um, because of the shift in seasons and where my office is, it's like I'm like in the dark, and you've got like this light on the side of you too. We're like in a predictive gaming dungeon or something like
Yeah,
that.
totally. It's like depressing sometimes because over 2 or 3 weeks you come from very shiny and sunny weather to like little dark. It's just 3 p.m. here,
I
and
know.
you are. It's like it's already 8 or 9 p.m.
I know. I know.
It's fucking depressing, but yeah, it is what it is,
you can't uh, you can't stop it. And I guess on the other side, there are plenty of places across the world that have no seasons, right? I mean, I like the seasons. I like the change in weather, though I tend to be much more of like a spring summer person
Mm.
than a fall and winter person. I do not like the winter at all.
Totally. You know that's why we are on our way to moving in Southeast Asia because there it's more tropical.
Yeah.
So the place we will be there is only 2 seasons, and basically so it's either dry or wet season, and basically the sun rising
Hmm.
is 4 a.m.
Oh my
4
gosh,
4
that's
to
awesome.
4:30 a.m. So naturally you start to work very early, but at the same time you stop early in the afternoon as it is very hot and
Yeah.
wet, so you can enjoy time with your family, doing some visits and stuff,
Yep.
enjoy life in fact. And in the night you are going to bed pretty early because
You,
as you
you were up
as you
at
wake up
4
at
a.m.
4, you know But I think it's just a way of living which is different, and I tend to agree with you that I like 4 seasons, but at the same time I prefer when it's hot. So I guess I will enjoy very quickly, and I will uh, be used to it. I think quick enough.
Yeah.
And if I miss winter or autumn or
You
wet
can come
autumn,
back.
I can come to visit you in the US, and then
Yeah, yeah. Now, do you and you're set to go this spring? Is that the plan? When are
mm,
you heading there?
we would love to leave before end of year,
Okay.
but yeah, it's not depending on us. In fact, there is
Okay.
some external stuff
Okay.
which has to be aligned in order that we can move.
Sure.
But the plan is we move before end of year.
Amazing. That is awesome. And so, welcome, Max. And so, for all those who
Thank you.
are watching, going to watch, will watch recorded, Max is our CEO of Spredict. And I've had the pleasure of working with him over these last, my goodness, Max. I've known you since 2021, I think. So, it's been
Yeah.
a very long time. And Max had the idea for Spredict. I want to say it was in 2022, and then we had the chance to work together these last 3 years from idea to like creating to now really trying to expand reach and usage. And we're going to take you through the design of our DApp and using it. And I'll share kind of my picks, Max. If you've got any like thoughts on the fighters in Noche UFC tonight, I would love to hear that.
Yep.
Um, and I just want to do a little bit of a humble brag. I'm coming off a 4 for 4 from UFC Fight Night in Paris, which was awesome. And I think, I don't know if it's the Parisians or if it's the French, but there is no better audience for a UFC fight than the people in the Accor Arena, and the energy behind BSD and behind Imavov was insane. And if you know anything about any fighting sport, there is a lot of value to being to fighting at home. And so I certainly, at least partially, had a very positive impact for those two fighters last weekend. So, all right, let me.
Yeah,
Oh, go
I
ahead,
can
Max.
add. Yeah, I can add because I watched those fights,
Yep.
with my daughter for the story, uh, and yeah, I was very tense because if you don't know, guys, I'm French, so I was particularly excited for this UFC Paris, and yeah, it was very tense for BSD because in fact it it was clear that if he had lost this fight, he wasn't able at all to be back in the top 15 ever, So
Yep.
it was really clear that he had to win at all cost, and he has done it with the manner because yeah, he totally dominated this fight, and he totally yeah um, uh, put his plan in action. So it was really nice to see, and I really can't wait to see Nasruddin fighting for the title against Shimaev, because on the paper you may think that Shimaev is way superior to Nasruddin, at least not standing, I would say, but at the ground he's a beast. So you can see him easily wins because it's pretty much easy after the third round to go on the ground, because Nasruddin is a standing fighter, he's a kickboxer, so he's putting a lot of energy. But
Hmm.
of course, when you are giving a lot of blows and you are above all taking some hits, it's difficult after the third round to be lucid enough to continue the fight and avoid takedowns.
Yep.
But I'm convinced that if he has the right strategy and training the right way, I know he's training really hard. So yeah, I think it will be very tough for Nasruddin, but he has a chance to win. But it will be, yeah, the favorite will be Shimaev for sure.
Oh, for sure. Yeah, and I would say actually that's a fight where I would be very comfortable um, going with the underdog pick in Imavov because the thing is, um, Shmaev is a beast. He brings an intense amount of energy and skill set in the ground game, and not even so much like destroying opponents, just his ability to control the fight from the ground. And the thing is, that is a primary area of strength for him. And so any fighter who is able to neutralize that, particularly a fighter who's a really strong striker and upright fighter like Imavov, if he's able to neutralize the ground attacks, particularly early on, and can maintain control through those first few rounds, I don't. Shimaev, I don't necessarily see him as a fighter who, in this case, would end up submitting Imavov. I don't. I think it would just be a matter of ground control. And I think that if Imavov can take those first few rounds, stay on his feet, continue to utilize his strike accuracy and power to land some solid hits, I think the fight becomes much more balanced, actually. And I think that as he trains and thinks through his game plan, that's going to be at the top of it. I don't see Shimaev as a particularly unpredictable fighter. I tend to believe that in any fight against a top tier contender, he's going to go for the ground. And so I think if you
Yeah, of
get a
course.
fighter who is well prepared for that and is also well skilled, I think they may stand a chance. So that's an underdog pick that I would definitely take.
Yeah, it will be, yeah, really, really competitive fight, I think. Yeah,
I agree.
really tight.
All right, so we're going to pull up the DAP. Let me pull up on screen where you're going
Yeah,
to head. Right, so you're going to go to dap.spredict.io. You can see the link below. I'm going to pull it up. I'll share my screen. We'll walk you through connecting and the layout of the DAP, and then we'll talk some picks. So let me pull that up. I'm going to share. And right now, our DAP is built around UFC as our main sport, and I'll show you that now. So now you're looking at our DAP's main landing page. Again, to join us, dap.spredict.io is the link you are going to go to. And when I started the stream, I'd mentioned that our goal in creating Spredict was really to design a predictive gaming ecosystem that operated a little bit differently than what was out there. And we do that in three main ways. First, our Spredict ecosystem is built around subscription-based gameplay. And so in the near future, you'll be able to mint what we call a Spredict Pass, which will allow you to have access to all of the games in a given sport or non-sport category over a set period of time. And with that pass, you will compete against others who are pass holders for points on our leaderboard, which will provide those leaders at the conclusion of that time period with prizes that they'll be able to claim. We will always have elements of Spredict available at no cost. Max and I believe that predictive gaming should be accessible to everyone. And so the opportunity to play for larger prizes will be up to the player through our Spredict Pass, right? So this idea of subscription gaming. Then our games are also much more than just like pick the fighter. And Max and I will walk you through Face Off, the game that's on screen now, and how we've added some innovative elements to that. And then as we grow, our goal is to also create customized predictive gaming pools for projects and lounges, communities that enjoy and find value in gaming together. And so the idea there would be that you would share with us the sport event that you want to explore through the creation of a customized pool. We'd build that out for you, and then you'd have the opportunity to compete against friends and family in your own style, right? And whenever you like. And so those are kind of the three foundational elements of Spredict's design, creation, etc. And Max, I don't know if you want to share anything about that while I get myself set to connect.
Yeah, I particularly want to add something is that currently we are working on, you can see the three different tabs. So the live event where you can play and make your picks, past results, which is going to be like the history of your previous picks, and the leaderboard. So currently we are working, our dev is working on the past result tab. Hopefully it will be ready this month. So we are working on it. And what's some feedbacks we had from people joining us lately, like MetaMask users, through our partnership we are developing with the Miracle. So they told us that it's confusing on how you can connect, etc. Because yeah, as mentioned by Fred, our product is fully on chain, so which means you need a wallet connection to connect the app and validate your picks into the smart contract directly. So basically, what we will bring to you is like a simple web page to connect before to connect the app, which will guide you through the different steps if it's the first time you connect our app, in order you are connecting well and you have the best experience user you can, so it will be the next steps that we will bring to you to facilitate your experience with us. So we are very excited to that elements, because even if it's looks very simple and it will be very easier for you to work through our product.
Awesome. Thanks, Max. So I'm going to connect and then just briefly walk you through the design of the DApp. So as Max shared, there are a number of ways to connect. I'm going to connect through my Abstract Global Wallet. Our DApp lives on the Abstract testnet, right? And we'll be continuing to refine the connection process to make it as easy as possible for everyone to get started. So I'm going to click to connect. I'll be taken to a screen to sign for my connection. And once that goes through, let me approve. We'll see up in the top right number of digits from my Abstract Global Wallet showing that I'm connected. There's a disconnect button if I need to change my wallet as well. On the right side, you will see live odds for the event that you currently have open in the DApp, right? And you can already see there are some interesting pick selections across a number of our fights within the card, which we'll talk about shortly. On the bottom, links to our socials. And then on the left-hand side, right, you've got our list of current sports and non-sports being worked on. Right now, you can see we're in the MMA category. The game will be participating in Face Off, which is basically a predictive game between the fighters in a given fight during an event. Tap Out is a game that we're working on, which will allow you to make predictions on finishing style, right? Which is a lot of fun to do as well. If you were involved, if you are a UFC fan, which if you're not, we hope that we can turn you into one, and you watched last week's fight night in Paris, there were a significant number of finishes in the fights, right, as opposed to going to decision, right? And so this will be an opportunity for you to make predictions as to how a fight will end. Formula One, that's like Max's favorite sport, right? And that's a area of Spredict that we have built out and are continuing to refine. And so there'll be opportunities to participate in Formula One games. We've built out the basics for our crypto side of our DApp, where you'll be able to make price, market cap, other predictions as well. We recognize that there are plenty of people who like predictive gaming, but are not necessarily sports fans. And so it's important to us to also have ways for any user to take part in Spredict. And below that is where you'd be able to collect your rewards. If you're a Spredict Pass holder, at the bottom you can see where getting your Spredict Pass would be located, and basically how you would start going through the process of purchasing one. Also want to quickly mention there are a couple tabs to help you throughout your work. Each of the games has a set of instructions, right, which will describe how you play. And of course, if you're not a member of our socials or Telegram, you're not following us on X, those are also great ways to get in touch with me and Max and other members of the community to help you get started in utilizing the Spredict app. All right, so here we are, right? We have got an amazing 4 fights on our card. If you are just joining us, right, we're looking at our DApp, dapp.spredict.io, and making our picks for Noche UFC, the fight night being held in Texas later today. And we'll get started. So this event happens to be at the Forest Bank Center. It's in San Antonio, Texas. This card has some interesting fights, and maybe Max, what we'll do is we'll start from the bottom of the card and work our way up to the main event. And so in using the DApp to make your picks, what you'll notice is that all 4 fights on our card are in the central part of our DApp. Making your selections is very, very easy, right? You simply click on the fighter that you're interested in picking. And as you go through and make your selections for each of the pools or fights, eventually, once you've made a pick in all 4, you'll have the option to validate. So that way you can't lock in your options until you've made all picks. And we've done that purposefully because as we have Spredict users competing for leaderboard points into the future, we want to make sure that no user loses the opportunity to earn any potential points in a given sports event. So that's the rationale behind that. So we're starting with our last fight. That is a middleweight divisional fight between two fighters who have been around for a decent amount of time. Kevin Gastelum is a real veteran in the program, 30 fights logged. He's 2010 out of the United States. Dustin Stolfus, he is 16-7 for his fight record. He is also American. These two are heading towards kind of like the upper side of their career. Both are 33, 185 pounds. Stolfus has a slightly kind of like a benefit in height of 3 inches, 4 inches longer reach. Neither one of them is particularly strong as strikers. Stolfus is a little bit better in the ground game. One of the things that's interesting to me about this fight, Gastelum is favored in Vegas at fairly high odds for this type of fight. He's favored at 250, which would lead you to believe that he is a significantly stronger fighter. He has probably a better fight resume than Stolfus does. He's been in the program longer, since 2013, but he has really struggled to build any significant win record through most of his career. He really has alternated wins and losses since he started fighting. I will say I find him to be one of the toughest fighters in a already strong middleweight division. The man can take so much punishment and damage, and he really is a fighter who constantly goes the distance, not necessarily to his benefit, but it is rare for Kevin Gastelum not to end a fight by decision. In fact, he I don't know if there may have been a few, but since 2018, that's really been all his fights have ended in. And so if we were playing the tap out game, it would be a pretty safe bet to have Kevin Gastelum winning or losing by decision. Stolfus is not super impressive in my eyes. He's not a particularly accurate fighter. He does tend to like to brawl, and because of that, can find himself more easily submissible. The thing is, Gastelum is not a submission fighter, so he doesn't have to worry about that as much. There's a level of unpredictability to Stolfus. The guy fights very hard and somewhat dangerously. I don't I don't feel like we'll see anything other than a fight going to decision for these two, but I don't see Gastelum as someone who should be a 250 odds favorite, and I don't think Gastelum is someone who can really take advantage of Stolfus's weaknesses. So for me, I'm locking in the pick for the underdog on this one, Max. I'm gonna go with Dustin Stolfus. Uh, I don't I don't think either fighter is necessarily guaranteed to come out with a win, and this for me is a really good underdog pick. So I don't. Uh, how do you feel about either of these fighters? Are you like feeling good about either one? Where would you lean?
Uh, to be honest, I pretty agree on everything you just said. I will just go with Gastelum to win on decision because I like to be contrarian with you, Fred, and you know. So no, but I think yeah, it's very difficult to predict this result because yeah, they are pretty much same kind of fighter,
Yep.
same strengths and weaknesses. So yeah, I will say Gastelum. It's just I think it's 50-50 for me on this one.
Yeah. And it's probably the toughest pick for me of the cards. And unfortunately, it will be the fight that happens first. So if Gastelum ends up winning, then my parlay is going to be to shit. So But
Not with us because you can make a
correct.
bunch of points,
That's
a
right.
bunch of points. All right. Just yeah, I wanted to add something
Yeah.
because you mentioned the underdog is Stolfus. Yeah, on the odds from ESPN or
Yep.
UFC, etc. But you can see, as you mentioned, live odds on the right,
Yep.
and you can see the star on the different fights. So
Yes.
the star means that on our DAP, this fighter is favorite. So as long as the fighter is favorite and you pick him, as I just did, um, if he wins, I will earn 1 point on the leaderboard on the DAP. I mean, but if Fred is right and Stolfus is winning, he
Let's
will
go.
win 3 points. So that's the additional elements we put in place in order to add some competition and strategy among players of Spredict. So yeah, it's
And Max
cool.
brings up a really important part to our design. When we started building out the DAP and the games, we felt really strongly that we did not want it to just be a pick A or B, right? Or in the case of like international football, for instance, A, B, or C, right? Like we wanted there to be um, additional strategic elements that forced players to think further about their selections, right? And so if you know, for instance, that um, you could earn more points towards the leaderboard, right? And in this case, right, in the DAP, and just by making a underdog pick, and if you feel good about that underdog, right, then you stand to not only earn more experience points, right, but when the Spredict Pass goes live, earn more points towards prizes. So it's a risk. It's a little bit of game theory, but it's an example of the development work that we wanted to put into the DAP to make it different, more innovative, and hopefully, right, more fun for anybody who's using it. So yeah, we love our favorite feature. We think it's such a cool design. Above that fight, right, and again, remember to make your selections very simple. It's just a click, right? And you'll want to see this predict purple around your fighter, right, to know that you are good, right, and your pick is ready to be validated. We've got a lightweight fight, and this week we've got Rafa Garcia, 17-4 of Mexico, Jared Gordon, 21-7 of the United States. Gordon is a fairly heavily favorite at 235 for this fight. There's some really kind of interesting physical opposites for these two fighters. So Garcia has 2 more inches of reach, right? While Gordon has 2 more inches of height. Gordon is slightly stronger from a striker accuracy standpoint, while Garcia is better on the takedown game. Garcia's won 3 of his last 5, right? He most recently battled in March and won by decision. And interesting with Garcia, prior to entering the UFC in 2020, he was undefeated. Right, and so one of the things that's also important to note, particularly when you have younger fighters who are a few years in the program, a fighter's rating and ranking when they're in other fight programs does not necessarily translate to UFC. And I think sometimes a trap when making UFC predictions is you get some of these younger fighters who are, let's say, 10-0 in a different program and then come to UFC, right? And sometimes picking those first fights into the program can be really tough because UFC is a very different world than a lot of the other fight programs out there. This does tend to be, in my opinion, a make or break fight for Garcia. He's currently 5 wins to 4 losses since he entered UFC, and a loss here puts him in a really tough spot as he determines and the program determines, is this the right placement for him, right? If you fought 10 times and won five and lost five, doesn't really provide you with a lot of support that this is necessarily the right program for you. Gordon's career a little bit cleaner since he entered UFC in 2017. Does struggle a bit too. He's two wins to two losses and one no contest over his last five fights. Most recently won by knockout in May. The thing that I like about Gordon and what leans me towards him as the fighter I'm going to pick in this lightweight division fight is he, if you watch him fight, he puts significant power into his punches. And against Garcia, who to me is a little bit stronger on the takedown game and weaker upright, it puts a middling fighter upright in a significant disadvantage against a really strong puncher, right, who's got better strike accuracy. I just see Gordon being able to break Garcia down during those first few rounds of that fight. So, like, I'll take a stronger striker in these cases anytime, like in a case like this. So, Gordon is who I'm locking in for my pick. How about you, Max?
Yeah, again, pretty much agree with you. Yeah, I would say that um, if Garcia can resist on the first two rounds, he may have a chance to win in the decision if during the third round he can go on the ground
Yep.
and score points, trying submissions and stuff, and via ground and pound as well, and he can hurt Gordon. But otherwise, if the fight stays standing, as you mentioned, Gordon is way more accurate and has a better level of striking. So it should be for Gordon. So I agree with you this time. I'm not contrarian with you for this one, and I prefer to pick Gordon.
Yeah. The fight nights are always hard for me because a lot of times the bottom of the main card is composed of fighters who are kind of like, and by the way, I say this with meaning no disrespect, because if you threw me in the octagon, I would be trying to claw my way out of there, right? I wouldn't want to be in there with any of these guys, but they are fighters who have not really hit their stride. They haven't figured out, either because of skill or because they just haven't gotten into the mental side of things, like what their best game plan is, right? Like they haven't figured out how to capitalize on the benefits of their style and the weaknesses of their opponent, right? And you brought up BSD's game plan last week. BSD is a prime example of a fighter who maybe, right, like skill, ability isn't the strongest, but in a important co-main event last week, really understood how he could utilize his skill set against a strong opponent. I think not only based on the Vegas odds, but based on the fighting nerds as a group, right, and what everybody was saying. I think there was a solid belief that BSD would be in much more trouble throughout the fight. But it's an example of where you have to be in tune with your own skill set and ability and strategy to help you win. So I think some of these guys in the lower part of the card, it's just really hard to pick because they haven't gotten to that point yet.
Yeah, absolutely. And you mentioned something very important. As in my youth, I made a few different fights in Thailand, and in any sports, I would say sports because it's more important in sports where you are fighting, so like boxing, Thai boxing, UFC, and so on and so forth, you know. But it's a reality also for football, for baseball, for F1, and so on and so forth, you know. Most of the time, you have you have the physical conditions, you know, but just before the fight, you have an injury, you know, so a small injury. I mean, you are never at 100% of your
Yeah.
capacity. Never. It doesn't exist. You
Yeah.
can't be. Above all, in MMA and stuff, you can't be at 100%. So what is important then is the mental you have. So a lot of time, many times during many fights, the decision is made by the mental strength rather than
Yeah.
physical ability. You know. So what is important is really the game plan. If you are able to stick to it, and the strength you have in your mental. Because if you are the one who throw the towel easily, so once your opponent will take the advantage, you will collapse
Yeah.
in the fight, and you will be beaten either by decision or by submission or KO. But if you are strength enough in your head to to turn the situation around and take the advantage by your mental over your opponent, then you have a good chance to win. And I think in those, because as you mentioned, if those guys are in the octagon is because they deserve it and they have the capacity to fight,
Yeah.
and they can win, so it's really tight fight every time at each event, because yeah, the guys are really deserving the place in the ranking and in the octagon. So yeah, I would say it's more to predict. I mean, to have an advantage on other players or other gamblers and stuff. You need to know the mentality of each fighters, because in my opinion, the strongest one in that side of things will be the one who has more chance to win.
I agree. And I think the mental piece is so huge. And that's why, too, in some parts of the world, I really love picking home fighters, right? And I shared it last week. Any fight I have seen on French soil is the energy that French fans bring to fights with French fighters in the octagon is significant. And I think that um, the the energy provided by people who are in your corner doesn't make you stronger, right? But it has a huge impact on your mental capacity in that moment. And I do believe, maybe more so in BSD's case than Imavov, but you could, I would tell you you are full of shit if you told me that the fans in that arena did not help BSD win that fight last week.
When you heard them, like, I don't remember the capacity of the stadium, but I think it's like 30,000 or
Yep.
40,000, something
Yep.
like that. When you heard at least, yeah, 30,000 people singing the national anthem,
Yes.
it's like crazy. And
Right.
to be honest, I don't remember that there is any other place in the world with that what the word in English to say, ambiance, with that,
Yes.
with
Yeah. Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah. Yep.
and even Michael Bisping is always is saying that when he comes to Paris. He says that he never experienced such craziness, and such
Yes.
support from the crowd. So it's
And
great.
that's why, too, as a predictor, right, using Spredict stat, or putting in a monetary bet through another another site or casino, whatever it might be, it's very important for you to take those, in English, the word is intangibles, the things that, right, like it's not just their physical characteristics, right, or elements of the fighter themselves. You have to think of where the fight's taking place also, uh, as something that you at least take into consideration. So here we are, right? Moving up the card, we've got a bantamweight fight. This is a really interesting one for me, and partly because I like Rob Font as a fighter. So it's Rob Font, right? Who many of us have seen fight many times, 22-8 on his career out of Puerto Rico, taking on David Martinez of Mexico, who's 12-1, right? So big difference in fight experience, for these two fighters. Font is a few inches taller, about 3 inches taller, and significantly longer reach. It's uh, fairly uncommon to have two fighters in the same division with about 6 inches differential in reach. Half a foot is a big deal. The thing that's worth noting here, right, is that for all of those physical benefits, Font is also 11 years older than Martinez. And I can tell you, I'm 46. If you put me in the octagon with a 34 or 35-year-old, there's already a big obstacle in place for me just because of things like stamina, right? Ability to take hits, even over those like 11 years, right? Both fighters, significant strike accuracy is similar. Font has utilized the takedown more than Martinez has. Font, because of his experience, does tend to be tactically a little bit stronger, which makes sense, right? I mean, the guy is like, almost 40 years old. The thing that is important for me to note is, and we were talking about this, fighters knowing their skill set. One thing you can't take away from Font is he utilizes his reach well. He really does recognize that is a significant benefit for him, within his division. And he knows how to go to the distance. He's a fighter who really can withstand a lot of damage. He's won 3 fights and lost 2 since 2023. Had a close win against Matsumoto in February. Very competitive fight. Showed Font's striking ability as well as his ability to recover from takedowns. The thing is that Martinez is not a particularly strong striker. He is, though, really, really, he tries to utilize the takedown quite a bit. He's only fought once in the UFC, Martinez. Had a stellar round one knockdown of Simon Oliveira. Martinez was a title holder in his previous program, which is called Combate Global, right? We know UFC is very different. So this is one of those fights where it's really hard to make a prediction based on a fighter's past experience. He hits hard. He brings a lot of power for a small frame. He could be trouble for Font if Font can't keep him at bay. But Font has proven to me he can take a lot of hits, take a lot of damage, and because he's got such a large difference in reach here, I do believe Font is strategic enough to use that, keep Martinez at bay, and pound him throughout the fight. And so I'm gonna go with the old timer. I'm gonna go with Font. Part of that because I think he can win the fight on paper. Part of it because I just like him. Font is favored, but only at 140, so he's not a huge favorite for this fight. How about you, Max? What are you thinking?
Yeah, first of all, I see that you have well done your homework because, yeah, you are bringing a lot of elements, of different elements, and it's nice to get some this kind of knowledge. I mean, so
Yeah, for
that's
sure.
really important. Um, and yeah, I would say that yeah, I went through the different stats of both fighters, and I'm always more turn into the strikers, because
Mm-hmm.
I love striking, and I would say Martinez, just not because I want to be contrarian with you this time, but just because yeah, I think that if in the first round particularly, with the fresh blows and fresh energy, he can hit Font big time. I think he can surprise him and finish on a KO early on. So I,
Nice.
I will bet on it, but I would say that if it goes on the second or third round, the decision or the end of the fight will go for Font.
Yeah, it's thanks, Max. It's such a interesting element of UFC, and I really look forward to when we have tap out available, right? Because there are some really cool components to the fight, and sometimes it's really about who is able to establish control early. And I agree, if Martinez comes out and lands a number of heavy hits, it's entirely possible that this fight could be over, within a minute. I mean, it's just the way it can be. I would imagine that Font's team has really been working with him to establish distance early and to allow him to take advantage of those 6 inches of extra reach so that he has greater separation from Martinez. So it's a fight I'm excited to see. Partly because, like I said, I enjoy Font. I respect his career a lot, and also because I think it's really interesting when veterans in the program are put up against newer fighters, right? To see how both of them do. So I'm looking forward to that. And so now we are up to what's billed as our main event for Noche UFC. If you're just joining us and you want to get in and make your picks, Max and I have worked through most of the card. We're going to briefly talk about the main event, lock in those picks. I'll show you how to do that. And then I'll be taking my picks on the Spredict app, doing a brief write up and locking in and making a little 4 pick parlay to see how I do. So we've got a great main event with two Brazilian fighters, Diego Lopes, 26-7, Gene Silva, 16-2. Both of these fighters, right, are from Brazil, as said. Lopez, a kind of jiu-jitsu user. Silva, leaning towards more of the striker role and pathway. Lopez is a built really thin within the division as a fighter, right? And so as a featherweight, he is 4 inches taller, right? He's 5'11". Silva is 5'7". 3.5 inches more of reach, so 72.5 inches to 69 inches. And so what you also have is a thinly bit taller fighter against a like stockier, more grounded fighter in Silva. Accuracy and significant strike takedown basically the same. Silva happens to be heavily favored. You might wonder why that's the case given Lopez's size advantage, and particularly because Lopez had a really a good showing against an amazing fighter in Volkanovski a few months back. Lopez is versatile. He can strike. He can do well on the ground. The challenge, I think, often is when fighters are taller, longer reach. Often they are taking that advantage in physical characteristics and offsetting it in many cases, not always, but in many cases, with the ability to put a lot of power behind their punches and kicks. And so, one of the things that's interesting here for me, watching fights across these two competitors' careers, is that both are incredibly versatile, both understand how to win a fight through a variety of different manners. But you've got a fighter who has some greater physical attributes against a fighter who can put more power and damage behind their punches and kicks. I will say Lopez has looked good over his last 10 fights. He's won seven, he's lost three. He's only been in the program since 2023, and he's fought four fights in roughly the last year, right? So, Max can probably tell you, as someone who did compete in MMA, that because you're always injured on some level, the idea of fighting four times in a year means that a fighter like Lopez has to have significant mental strength to be prepared to enter the octagon that regularly. Gene Silva has not lost a fight since 2018. So 7 years, this man has not lost a fight. And that, for him, was 13 fights ago. So in 7 years, he's fought 13 times. This is a guy who enjoys the thrill of being in the octagon and is well built to win. He too has fought four times over the course of the last year. He looks good. He fights well, very strategic. He enters the octagon with a level of intensity. In his most recent fight, he fought Bryce Mitchell, who, in my opinion, is just total. Bryce Mitchell is the example of me as someone whose mentality is like frightening, because you never know what this guy is going to do. But what I really enjoyed in watching fight recaps of that fight was, at one point he had knocked Mitchell down, could easily have gone to the ground to attempt to submit him and end the fight, but instead he backed off, called Mitchell up, gave Mitchell space to get back up, and then proceeded to beat the shit out of him, which was crazy. He's strong as a submission master. He can win via knockout, go the distance as well. The thing is, Lopez is higher up in the division currently, right? And so that, you always have to take that into account. But I see this being a win for Lopez, right? And something that propels him further towards the top in what could be a really interesting future fight between him and Volkanovski. So I'm going with Silva for the win in this one, and I'm gonna lock that pick in, Max. So any thoughts?
Sorry. Yeah, I was mute. Yeah, yeah, as you mentioned, I think that fight is the tightest of
Yes.
that card, to be honest.
Agreed.
Yeah, I would go with Silva also, even if Lopez is, a strong one, and as you mentioned, has proven that he can fight more than once or twice a year, which is already tough. Because yeah, I never fought as a MMA fighter, just as Thai boxing, Thai boxing competition. But yeah, MMA, and yeah, it's requiring a ton of resources in your whole body. You have to manage everything and think about everything. I would say that in Thai boxing it's easier, and to be honest, that's why I went to Thailand to fight and to learn how to train Muay Thai, to train Thai boxing, because those guys are like, yeah, it's like crazy, because in fact, they are fighting. If they are not getting knockout in the fight, they are fighting in average every 3 weeks or so.
Wow.
Yeah, it's totally crazy. I fought against a guy who were like 30 or 32 years old.
Yep.
He has more than 200 fights
Oh my
already.
gosh.
Yeah, yeah, because they are starting to fight at 7 or 8.
Wow.
And even at this age, you can have a really competitive and hard fight for them, because you can think, okay, they are like 30 kilo or 25 kilos, they are not eating strong, but in fact you are training against those kids, and they are hurting you. So and you are like 70 kilos, and so almost 3 times their weight, but they are still hurting you. So yeah, to come back to our prediction on the fight, I think it's really important as well for a fighter to be able to fight more than the average in his discipline, because
Yeah.
it gives you a mental advantage that your stamina, your energy during the fight is enough, and you master it enough to take the advantage at some point in the fight. Because if one fighter is struggling after the second round or the third round, because he has not the stamina, and he's not used to fight uh, enough and regularly to have that stamina over the long term of the fight. So I think I will go with. I agree with you. I will go with Silva also, because I think that he can dominate on the striking, and then be able to resist if the fight go to the ground. He has skills to turn the decision over his side. So yeah, I will
Yeah.
go with Silva also.
I also think, as I look at the two fighters, I think Silva has the chance to be a division champ at some point. I don't see that as much for Lopez. I just don't get that energy and vibe. Of course, anything can happen. He did fight for the title against Volkanovski, right? But Volkanovski is a very different fighter. And I think that if you were to look for a really interesting divisional battle, Silva against Volkanovski could be really interesting for me. So, one
Totally.
thing that I want to share, um, you'll notice that when I clicked on Silva, right, on the bottom of the screen, I received a notification telling me you've completed, 4 picks out of the 4. That means I have a pick in place for each of my fighters. I can now validate my prediction. And clicking on that will bring up a transaction window that will allow me to approve and lock in, right? Let me try that again. Oh, it erased let's say, pop that in there. Let's try again. I might have to reconnect. Let's say. Yeah, I don't know. I'm not sure why I'm getting an error, to be honest. But what I'll do, I'm going to keep these up and then I'll lock in. I might need to put some more ETH in that wallet, actually. So here are my picks. You should be able to validate your prediction by clicking that button. What it will do is lock in your picks, right? And then you'll be eligible to earn experience points for our DAP, right? And towards our leaderboard. And so that's the simple process, right? It's really a very straightforward way to utilize our DAP. Again, just to provide you with that link, right? dap.spredict.io is the link you'll go to. We also have a timer up for each of our picks. You can see that up here now, giving you the amount of time left to make your predictions. So get in there, go and make your picks, right? Use our DAP, try it out, see how well you do. And, we thank you for checking out what we're building, as Max shared. A lot of great development in the works. And yeah, we can't wait to have you continuing to join us as we build and grow. So thanks.
Thank you all, and yeah, feel free to join us on social as mentioned by Fred. We will share on what we are building, and we are excited for what's coming in the near future. Thank you again, and thank you Fred for the stream.
You got it. My pleasure. Anytime.